Hello, my dear friends. I'd like to begin by dedicating this sharing to my mother. She was in a very serious accident recently, but thankfully she is recovering now. You know, being with her through this has been a powerful reminder of how fragile our bodies can be, but also how incredibly strong and resilient our minds are. This whole experience has taught me so much. And I'm hoping that by sharing some of these lessons with you, they might be helpful for you too. I wish all of you to be safe, to be healthy, and to be happy. You know, the topic for today actually comes from a question that was asked thousands of years ago. There was an elderly man and he was really feeling the pains of his aging body. So he went to the Buddha and asked this very honest question. The Buddha's answer was so simple, but so profound. He said, train yourself this way, though my body is ailing, my mind will be healthy. Now, this isn't just a nice idea, it's actually a practical instruction. So let's explore what this timeless advice really means for us today in our own lives. To explain this, the Buddha used this wonderful metaphor, the metaphor of the two arrows. He said that in life, all of us, we will be struck by the first arrow. This is the physical pain of sickness, of an injury, of getting old. It's just unavoidable. But then very often we shoot a second arrow into ourselves. The second arrow is our mental reaction to the first one. It's the fear, the anger, the self-pity, the endless worry of why me? So for example, the first arrow could be a simple headache. The second arrow is our mind going, oh no, what if this is a brain tumor? My life is over. That second arrow, that mental suffering, that part is optional. And that is where our work really begins. So our goal here is to learn how to keep our minds healthy, even when our bodies are not feeling so good. But what does a healthy mind truly mean? What are we actually aiming for? To get a clearer picture, let's look at this from two very important perspectives. Here we can see a really interesting comparison. So from a medical point of view, which is my background as a psychiatrist, a healthy mind is one that's free from being overwhelmed by too much stress, too much anxiety, or depression. We know from research that these feelings release stress hormones that can actually slow down our body's healing. So managing them is really vital for physical recovery. Now, the Buddhist view, it looks a little deeper. It defines a healthy mind as one that's free from what it calls the spiritual poisons, things like greed, hatred, and ignorance. And the goal here is to find clarity and prevent actions or karma that lead to more suffering down the road. And this is a point that's really, really close to my heart. When the Buddha talked about mental illness, he was talking about those universal spiritual poisons, not clinical psychiatric conditions like major depression or anxiety disorder. It is so important that we understand this difference. It helps us have more compassion for ourselves and for others. You see, there's no shame in having a mind that's affected by spiritual poisons. We all do. And there is absolutely no shame in seeking professional help from a doctor or a therapist when you are struggling with a psychiatric condition. Both paths deserve our full kindness and compassion. Okay, so now let's get to the really practical part. How can we actually protect our minds from that painful second arrow? I want to share a little toolkit with you. 5 simple but very powerful methods that we can all use, especially when we're feeling physically unwell. So what's in this toolkit? Well, we have practices for cultivating loving kindness and finding gratitude. We have methods for transforming our fear and learning how to relax. And finally, a powerful reminder to just focus on our present actions. Now, these aren't complicated techniques. They're really just shifts in our mindset that we can practice anytime, anywhere. So let's take a closer look at each one of these 5 tools. Our first tool is loving kindness, or what we call metta. This is the active wish for well-being for ourselves and for other people. It's not just a passive feeling. You see, when we're sick, it's so easy to be harsh on ourselves, to get angry at our bodies. Metta practice is like the perfect medicine for that. We deliberately generate these feelings of warmth and care, and we start with ourselves. It calms the mind and it creates this gentle inner environment that really supports our healing. Now, to make this super practical, especially for us here in Malaysia, I like to use our familiar folk song, Rasa Sayang. The melody itself is so comforting, isn't it? I taught my mother to quietly sing these words to herself in the hospital. May I be safe, may I be healthy, may I be happy. And then she would think of her family and sing, may you be safe, may you be healthy, may you be happy. And finally, for everyone, may all be safe, all be healthy, all be happy. It's such a simple, beautiful way to fill the mind with warmth instead of worry. Our second tool is the joy of gratitude. Now, I know this can sound a bit difficult. How can I feel grateful when I'm in pain? Well, the key is a very simple but profound shift in how we look at things. A few weeks ago, I was actually hospitalized for some really bad food poisoning. It was a miserable experience, I can tell you. But while I was lying there in bed, I practiced this one simple thought. And it could have been worse, luckily. So instead of letting the pain completely take over my thoughts, I deliberately shifted my focus to what went well. With each little point of gratitude, thinking I'm lucky my hospital is so near. Lucky my good friend could rush me there. Lucky the really intense pain was temporary. With each thought, I could feel the heavy weight of my suffering just lighten just a little bit. This practice, it doesn't make the pain disappear, but it puts it into a bigger context. It balances the suffering with a sense of good fortune, and that makes a huge difference to our mental state. Okay, the third tool is all about transforming fear. Let's be honest, there is no illness in the entire world that gets better with worry. In fact, fear puts our body into that fight or flight mode, which is the exact opposite of the rest and digest state that we need for healing. So we have to learn to transform it. One really powerful way to do this is to connect with our spiritual practice, whatever that may be. For a Buddhist, this could mean bringing to mind the qualities of the Buddha, his compassion, his wisdom, his peace, and just feeling that sense of safety and refuge. Now, in our modern world, there's a huge source of fear that I have a little name for. I call it the idiot syndrome. It stands for internet-derived information obstructing treatment. You know what I mean, right? This is what happens when we get a symptom. We go to Dr. Google, and in about 5 minutes, we've diagnosed ourselves with some rare, fatal disease. And this creates so much mental suffering, and usually it's completely unnecessary. So what do we do about this? How do we handle it? Well, first, use the internet only as a general guide, not as the final diagnosis. The most important step you can take is to find a kind, compassionate doctor that you can really talk to, someone who actually listens. If that's not possible, then discuss what you've read online with a wise friend who has some medical understanding. The key here is to seek wisdom, not just raw information, so you don't frighten yourself for no reason. Our fourth tool is so simple to say, but so important to practice. Relax to the max. Stress is a well-known enemy of healing, so find what helps you unwind. For my mother, who has practiced Qigong for over 20 years, it was her daily routine. Even with a broken leg, she would sit up in her hospital bed and she would practice the upper body movements. It helped her manage her pain and really kept her spirits up. For you, maybe it's listening to some calming music or a gentle guided meditation, or even just focusing on your breath for a few minutes. Anything that tells your body it's okay to rest, it's okay to heal. And our fifth and final tool is to focus on what you can do. When we get sick, it's so easy to feel helpless or to start wondering about past karma. Oh, what did I do to deserve this? But the Buddha taught that the most important karma is our present karma, the choices that we make right here, right now. We can't change the past, but right now we can choose to find a good doctor. We can choose to take our medicine. We can choose to eat good, nourishing food, and we can choose to practice these mental tools. This is where our true power lies, in our actions in this very moment. So these 5 tools, they are incredibly helpful for managing suffering in the here and now. They help us to avoid that second arrow. But this brings us to a much deeper question. Are these tools just a temporary fix? Is there a permanent solution? I mean, is there a way to be completely free from sickness altogether? The reality is the tools that I've shared can reduce our suffering a great deal. They can bring us peace and resilience. But as long as we are born into a human body, we are going to experience aging, sickness, and eventually death. These methods help us to navigate that journey with more grace and with less suffering, but they don't end the journey itself. So what is the ultimate answer that the Buddha offers? The Buddha's ultimate teaching points to this really profound truth. The only way to be completely and permanently free from all forms of suffering, and that includes physical sickness, is to achieve enlightenment. This means ending the whole cycle of rebirth, and with it, the very conditions that give rise to sickness and old age in the first place. Now, I know this might seem like a very distant goal, but it serves as our North Star, giving our practice a much deeper meaning and direction. So until we reach that ultimate goal, let's practice these methods. Let's support one another with kindness, and let's always remember those powerful and empowering words. Though my body is sick, my mind shall be healthy. As you go about your day, I'd like to invite you to consider this. What is one small thing you can do right now to care for your mind? I wish you all to be safe, to be healthy, and to be happy. Thank you.